They sold it to the man in leather. At first, the banker actually laughed at me, right up until the biker calmly raised his hand. I'm Sam Cooper. I'm 74 years old, an Army veteran. I served 2 tours in Iraq. And that Monday morning, I stood there powerless while Northwest Bank prepared to auction off the farm my family had owned for 100 years, all because of what they later called a clerical error of about $2,000. It was Monday, 10 o'clock sharp. The Cooper family farm, Yamhill County. I stood on the front porch of the old farmhouse, watching banker Kevin Mills set up an auction podium right there in my driveway. 200 acres of land my grandfather had homesteaded. 20 wheat fields my father had planted with his own hands. The barn where I learned to work before I ever learned how to shoot. The house where I raised my 3 daughters after my wife passed away. And now it was all being sold. Mills tapped the microphone and cleared his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, welcome to the foreclosure auction of Cooper Farm. Opening bid, $180,000. About 20 investors were already gathered. Land developers, corporate farmers, speculators, all of them waiting to buy a century-old farm for a fraction of what it was worth. I walked up to Mills and tried one last time. This is a mistake, I told him. I paid my property taxes. I have the canceled check. He didn't even look at it. Mr. Cooper, he said flatly, Northwest Bank records show a property tax delinquency from 2023. After 18 months of non-payment and multiple notices, foreclosure proceedings were initiated and approved by the court. It's too late to dispute it now. My check cleared, I said. The county shows payment. Our records show non-payment, he replied. The foreclosure is legal and final. What he didn't care about was that my daughter Emily was deployed with the Army in Germany. She'd called me the week before. Dad, she said, that foreclosure sounds wrong. You never miss payments. Can you delay the auction until I get home so I can help? I tried. The bank refused. Under the Service Members Civil Relief Act, military families are protected from foreclosure during deployment and for a year afterward. Foreclosing while my daughter was actively deployed could have violated federal law. Oregon law also requires banks to verify tax payments before foreclosing. They never did. But none of that mattered in that moment. I stood there watching 100 years of family farming disappear because someone misfiled a payment. Then the sound came. Motorcycle engines. They roared up the long driveway, 50 bikes in total. The Iron Brotherhood MC Veterans chapter rolled in and lined up across the gravel. At the front was their president, a man everyone called Reaper, an Iraq War veteran like me. He got off his bike carrying a leather saddlebag that looked heavy enough to pull his shoulder down. He walked straight up to me. Brother, he said quietly, we're here. He looked me in the eyes. You served with the 3rd Infantry Division during the 2003 invasion, right? I nodded, confused. How did you? I was 1st Cavalry, he said. 2005 to 2007. We heard about your auction through the Veterans Network. You're being robbed. He explained it plain and simple. The foreclosure was over about $2,200. I'd already paid it. My daughter was deployed. What the bank was doing wasn't just wrong, it was likely illegal. I told him what the bank said, that their records showed I never paid. Then their records are wrong, he said. But we're not fighting this today with lawyers. He patted the saddlebag. We're fighting it with this. I felt my throat tighten as he told me where the money came from. Veterans, Legion posts, VFW halls, motorcycle clubs across 3 states. They'd raised the cash together. We're buying your farm today, he said. Then we're giving it back to you. I shook my head. I can't accept that. Yes, you can, he said calmly. Because one day, you'll do the same for someone else. That's what brothers do. Mills called out again. Gentlemen, the auction begins in 5 minutes. When it started, the bids flew fast. 180, 185, 90, 200. I watched strangers bid on my grandfather's legacy. People who would bulldoze the barn, split the land, erase our name from the soil. Reaper stood beside me. My grandfather lost his farm during the 2008 crash, he told me quietly. The bank foreclosed while he was in a VA hospital getting cancer treatment. He died 6 months later. Not from cancer, from a broken heart. I looked at him. What was his name? Thomas Reed, he said. Kansas wheat farmer. Korea veteran. Then you understand, I told him. This land is my grandfather's legacy. My father's life. My children's inheritance. I do, he said. And it's staying yours. The bids climbed again. 230. Reaper raised his hand. Sir, Mills sneered, this is a serious auction. Immediate payment is required. Reaper opened the saddlebag and laid stacks of $100 bills on the podium. I'm serious, he said. 247,000. Cash. The crowd went silent. No one bid higher. Mills swallowed hard. Sold, he said, to the man in leather. The next day, Reaper's attorney, Lisa Morgan, a veterans' rights lawyer, found the truth. My tax payment had been misapplied by the county to the wrong parcel. The bank never verified it. She filed an emergency lawsuit for wrongful foreclosure. Federal violations. Failure to verify payment. Fraud. The sale would be reversed. But on paper, the farm already belonged to Reaper. That afternoon, he walked the land with me. 200 acres of wheat fields. An old barn in need of repairs. A farmhouse full of memories. Tell me why this place matters, he said. I ran the soil through my fingers. My grandfather homesteaded this land, I told him. Cleared rocks. Built the barn himself. Survived the Depression by growing food and sharing it with neighbors who were starving. The wheat rustled in the breeze, golden and ready for harvest. The earth smelled like sweat, time, and hope pressed into the ground. My father inherited it in 1950, I said. Vietnam came for him. Iraq came for me in 2003. Stop loss pulled me back at 45. And I stood there, knowing this land had survived everything, because brotherhood showed up when it mattered. I served overseas while my father stayed behind and kept the farm running. He held it together until the day he died in 2010. When he passed, all he left me was this land and a handwritten note. Sam, it said, this dirt holds every Cooper who came before you. It's your daughter's inheritance. Don't lose it. My voice cracked every time I thought about it. I didn't lose this farm in Iraq. I didn't lose it during the recession. I lost it to a clerical error and a banker who refused to listen. 100 years of family history nearly disappeared in 10 minutes. Reaper's jaw tightened when I finished. My grandfather lost his farm the same way, he said. Bank mistake. Foreclosure. Strangers bought it. He paused, then added quietly. A week after the auction, they bulldozed his barn. The one his father built in the 1930s. My granddad watched from a hospital window. He died that night. He looked at me. Land isn't just property. It's legacy. And you're keeping yours. I hesitated. But you own the deed now, I said. Legally, it's your farm. Reaper shook his head. Legally, maybe. Temporarily. Morally? Permanently yours. Tomorrow, we transfer it back for $1. Wednesday morning, attorney Lisa Morgan sat down with both of us and laid everything out. Mr. Cooper, she said, county records confirm your property tax payment cleared on November 23rd. The payment was misapplied to the wrong parcel due to a clerical error. She slid the paperwork across the table. The bank never verified the payment before foreclosing. That violates Oregon foreclosure statutes requiring due diligence. On top of that, your daughter Emily is actively deployed. The Service Members Civil Relief Act prohibits foreclosure on military family property during deployment and for 1 year afterward. She didn't sugarcoat it. The foreclosure violated federal law. Completely. We're filing a federal lawsuit for wrongful foreclosure, elder abuse, and negligent infliction of emotional distress. The bank will settle. They won't want criminal exposure. Reaper nodded. And while the lawyers handle that, he said, I'm transferring the deed back. The farm stays in the family. That afternoon, the story hit the news. Bikers by Veterans Farm returned deed for $1. The veterans community exploded with support. American Legion posts. VFW halls. Riders and farmers from everywhere. Sam Cooper served his country. One post read, now we serve him. 50 Iron Brotherhood members, plus veterans from 6 states, had raised $247,000 in just 4 days. Local farmers showed up with supplies. Your family fed this valley for 100 years, they told me. Now we feed yours. By Thursday, the community had raised another $50,000 for repairs and legal costs. That evening, Lisa finalized the paperwork. Tomorrow, she said, Reaper signs the deed. Statutory minimum consideration. The farm is legally yours again. I hesitated. What about the $247,000? I asked. That was community money. Reaper squeezed my shoulder. That wasn't a loan. It was a gift. You don't repay gifts. You pay them forward. That's when my phone rang. Kevin Mills, Northwest Bank. Mr. Cooper, he said, the bank is prepared to offer $300,000 to purchase the farm from the current owner. We'll dismiss all litigation. Your biker friend can profit $53,000. I looked at Reaper, then at the land my grandfather cleared by hand. Reaper didn't hesitate. Tell him the farm's not for sale, he said. Never was. Friday, 10 a.m., Cooper Farm. More than 200 veterans, farmers, and neighbors gathered for the deed transfer. Flags flew. Engines idled. People stood shoulder to shoulder. Then Kevin Mills arrived, with bank attorneys. This transfer cannot proceed, he announced. Northwest Bank is seeking an injunction. Lisa stepped forward. On what grounds? Collusion. Fraud, one attorney said. Circumventing foreclosure. Lisa didn't blink. Reaper legally purchased the property at auction. He has absolute right to transfer the deed to anyone, for any price. She leaned in. You're concerned about being exposed for wrongful foreclosure while a service member was deployed. Federal judges don't look kindly on that. You should be settling, not interfering. Mills turned to the crowd. Mr. Cooper defaulted. He lost his farm fairly. I stepped forward. I paid my taxes, I said. The county confirmed it. Your bank foreclosed without verifying payment, violating Oregon law. My daughter is deployed. Your foreclosure violated federal law. You stole my farm. I pointed to the bikes behind me. These brothers bought it back. You're not stopping this. Mills threatened more legal action. Reaper stepped beside me. Pursue whatever you want, he said. Meanwhile, the deed transfers now. I took the microphone. My name is Sam Cooper. I'm 74 years old. United States Army. 3rd Infantry Division. Iraq. 2003 to 2004. I held up the worn deed. This farm has been in my family since 1920. My grandfather's homestead. My father's life. My daughter's inheritance. My voice grew stronger. On Monday, the bank auctioned it over a clerical error. 100 years sold in 10 minutes. I stood helpless while investors bid on my grandfather's legacy like it was a commodity. I looked at Reaper. Then this man stood up. An Iraq veteran like me. He raised his hand and outbid everyone, with $247,000 raised by veterans across 3 states. Brothers who'd never met me showed up anyway. The crowd was silent. The banker laughed at the man in leather, I said. He didn't understand that jacket stood for service, sacrifice, and solidarity. I nodded toward Reaper. Today, he gives the farm back for $1. Not because he has to. Because brotherhood means land stays in the family. We don't leave brothers behind. Not in war. Not in life. Tears fell. 200 veterans saluted. Reaper signed. I, Reaper Morrison, transfer all rights, title, and interest in Cooper Farm to Sam Cooper for consideration of $1. He handed me the deed. The crowd erupted. I handed him a single dollar bill. This isn't payment, I said. It's a promise. To protect this land. To teach my grandchildren what brotherhood means. To remember 50 bikers who saved a 100-year legacy. Reaper pulled me into a hug. That dollar's just a symbol, he said. The real payment was your service. You gave years to this country. We gave your farm back. We're even. Mills started to protest, until his attorney grabbed his arm. Kevin, he whispered, a federal judge just called. The bank wants to settle. By Friday afternoon, the farm felt alive again. The sun hung low over the wheat fields, casting long shadows across land that had almost been taken from us. The smell of barbecue drifted through the air. Music played. People laughed. Boots pressed into soil that had belonged to the Coopers for 100 years, and nearly slipped away because of one mistake. The celebration rolled on when Mills's attorney quietly pulled Lisa aside. The bank wants to settle, he said. Lisa listened without reacting. Full rescission of the foreclosure, he continued. $100,000 in damages for wrongful foreclosure and Service Members Civil Relief Act violations. Public apology. Payment of all legal fees. Lisa didn't hesitate. That's not enough, she said. Your bank stole a veteran's farm while his daughter was deployed. You auctioned a century of legacy over a clerical error you never verified. That offer insults every service member protected by federal law. The attorney swallowed. What do you want? Lisa laid it out. $250,000 in damages. A public admission of wrongdoing. Full reimbursement of the community funds. An independent audit of your foreclosure practices, or we take this to federal court. I'll call the CEO, he said. An hour later, he was back. Northwest Bank agrees, he said. $250,000 in compensatory damages to Mr. Cooper. Full reimbursement of all community donations. A public apology. An independent audit of foreclosures involving military families. Mandatory verification protocols for tax payments. And the CEO will personally apologize and implement SCRA compliance training for all employees. Lisa turned to me. This restores everything, she said. You get the farm back, damages for emotional distress, and the community gets their money returned. I finally let out the breath I'd been holding for days. 100 years of legacy, secured not just by a deed, but by justice. I looked at Reaper. Your people get their money back? I said. Every dollar. He smiled. Most of them will donate it right back to the farm, he said. You know that. When the settlement terms were announced, the crowd erupted. Then a black sedan rolled up. The bank's CEO, Edward Harrison, stepped out and walked straight toward me. Mr. Cooper, he said, extending his hand. On behalf of Northwest Bank, I apologize without reservation. Our foreclosure was wrong, legally, morally, and ethically. We failed to verify payment. We ignored federal protections. We caused harm that should never have happened. He looked me in the eye. We're implementing immediate reforms. Mandatory SCRA training. Verification requirements before any foreclosure. A veteran's liaison position. Independent oversight. I shook his hand. Your apology is noted, I said. But reforms matter more than words. Make sure no other veteran loses a farm because a bank didn't check its records. You have my commitment, he said. The celebration swelled. The farm was secure. The settlement was real. Justice had finally caught up. I stepped forward and addressed everyone. This settlement means this farm stays with my family forever, I said. The damages will repair the land, cover taxes, and protect my daughter's inheritance. The community gets their donations back. Brotherhood saved this legacy. The Iron Brotherhood stepped forward and handed me a custom leather vest patch. My service years, my farm, my family stitched into it. You're one of us now, Reaper said. Honorary brother. That evening, my daughter Emily called from Germany. Dad, she said through the screen, I heard the farm is safe. Thank you for everything. She looked at Reaper. Thank you for protecting our home while I protect my country. Reaper nodded. Your father protected us in Iraq, he said. We protect his farm. Fair trade. The story didn't end there. The following month, the Oregon legislature acted. A representative introduced the Cooper SCRA Enforcement Act, requiring banks to verify military status before foreclosure, mandating training, tripling damages for violations, and imposing criminal penalties for willful noncompliance. Federal regulators investigated Northwest Bank. They found 12 additional violations. The bank was fined $2 million and ordered to conduct a nationwide audit. Mills resigned. Harrison enforced reforms across every branch. The Cooper Farm case became precedent. Veterans' property rights mattered. Community solidarity defeated corporate wrongdoing. Reaper and Lisa later founded the Reed Cooper Veterans Property Defense, named for both our grandfathers, men who lost farms to banks. They offered free legal help to veterans facing foreclosure. 3 years later, I was 77 years old, harvesting wheat with Reaper's teenage son, Jake. I showed him the same techniques my grandfather had taught me a century earlier. I remembered that Friday, the deed, the signature, the $1 bill, the settlement that made it all right. The Iron Brotherhood still showed up every harvest. They helped with equipment, repairs, and the work that never ends on a farm. I used part of the settlement to create the Cooper Legacy Fund, helping veterans in trouble, partnered with the Reed Cooper Defense. A reporter once asked me, how did a 74-year-old veteran keep his farm after foreclosure? I told him the truth. I had proof I paid. Reaper and the Iron Brotherhood raised the money. A good attorney proved the bank broke the law, and a community stood together. I knelt and touched the soil my grandfather cleared. Land isn't just property, I said. It's legacy, and farms stay in the family when brotherhood stands together.